Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 15, entitled The Yoga of the Supreme Person, text 2. Please repeat after me, word by word translation. Word by word, and then the shloka. Adhaha cha urdhvam prasritaha tasya shakhaha guna pravriddhaha vishaya pravalaha adhaha cha mulani anusantatani karma anubandhini manushya-loke adhaschordhvam prasritastasya shakha guna pravriddha vishaya prabalaha adhascha mulanyanu-santatani karmanubandhini manushya-loke. Please repeat after me. Adhaha, downward, cha, end, urdhvam, upward, prasritaha, extended, tasya, its, shakhaha, branches, guna, by the modes of material nature, pravriddhaha, developed, vishaya, sense objects, pravalaha, twigs, adhaha, downward, cha, end, mulani, roots, anusantatani, extended, karma, to work, anubandhini, bound, manushya-loke, in the world of human society. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of ISKCON. The branches of this tree extend downward and upward, nourished by the three modes of material nature. The twigs are the objects of the senses. This tree also has roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society. Purport. The description of the banyan tree is further explained here. Its branches spread in all directions. In the lower parts, there are variegated manifestations of living entities, human beings, animals, horses, cows, dogs, cats, etc. These are situated on the lower parts of the branches, whereas on the upper parts are higher forms of living entities, the demigods, Gandharvas, and many other higher species of life. As a tree is nourished by water, so this tree is nourished by the three modes of material nature. Sometimes we find that a tract of land is barren for want of sufficient water, and sometimes a tract is very green. Similarly, where particular modes of material nature are proportionately greater in quantity, the different species of life are manifested accordingly. The twigs of the tree are considered to be the sense objects. By development of the different modes of nature, we develop different senses, and by the senses we enjoy different varieties of sense objects. The tips of the branches are the senses, the ears, nose, eyes, etc., which are attached to the enjoyment of different sense objects. The twigs are sound, form, touch, and so on, the sense objects. The subsidiary roots are attachments and aversions, which are byproducts of different varieties of suffering and sense enjoyment. The tendencies toward piety and impiety are considered to develop from these secondary roots, which are spread in all directions. The real root is from Brahmaloka, and the other roots are in the human planetary systems. After one enjoys the results of virtuous activities in the upper planetary systems, he comes down to this earth and renews his karma or fruitive activities for promotion. This planet of human beings is considered the field of activities. Om Jnanathimiranthasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamarupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shitaf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Can you give one cushion to Prabhu? He can keep the book on that because it's on the ground. Please keep the book on this. Yeah. Thank you. So, because the book should be kept little above so that to give respect. Please don't mind. Okay. So here we are discussing in these few shlokas description of this material world. Well, why do we need a book to describe? We are already observing this material world. So why do we need Bhagavad Gita to describe this world? A question may be raised. But we just don't see by eyes, we see by our consciousness. A child is also seeing this world, and a grown-up man is also seeing the same world. But as grown-up man, because of his developed consciousness, he is able to derive more meaning out of this world as compared to a child. For a child, this world will be just, everything will be toys to play, that's all, because of his consciousness. Even if you give him a diamond, he will only think this is another toy. So, we don't just see by our eyes, we see by consciousness. There are animals also, the dogs, they are loitering in the street. They are also viewing the world, but is their vision and our vision same? So, we don't see by our eyes alone. Primarily we see with our consciousness. So, therefore, here the description of this world is from the eyes of Krishna. How Krishna sees this world. That is a perfect seeing. Because he is the creator. He knows why He has created. He knows perfectly what is the relationship of each and everything with each other thing. He knows perfectly how each and every person should act so that he can be in his best normal position. So therefore, this is a description of this world as seen by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, this is very different to what we see. So we have to learn this, how to see as Lord sees. That is the real seeing. Therefore, there is a word for that in scriptures, Vedic scriptures, called Shastra Chakshusha. Chakshu means eyes and Shastra means the scriptures. So this whole training of a spiritual life is to learn through the eyes of scriptures, because the scriptures are word of God. So by properly understanding scripture, we start seeing through the eyes of scripture, and that is same as we see as Krishna sees. So here in these verses we are seeing how Krishna sees this world. So in the first verse, there are 3 verses which describe this whole creation, just 3 verses. Some of the very important aspects about our living are described in these 3 verses, very important verses. In the first verse, which I took in the first class on a Sunday 1 month back, just to recap a little bit so that we can connect it to today's class. In the first shloka of this chapter, where Krishna describes about this world, he said, "It is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is a knower of the Vedas." Knower of the Vedas. Again, who sees as Krishna sees. Veda means word of God. So one who knows Veda means one who understands Krishna, at least to some extent. So he says, this material world can be understood by imagining a tree which is upside down. Roots are up and the branches are down. That means the origin of this existence, this world, lies on the topmost of the planets, which is called Satyaloka or Brahmaloka. Brahma is the empowered living being. He is also a living being. He is not God, but he is an especially empowered living being who is empowered to give bodies to all of us, different souls, based on our activities which we did in the past, in the previous creation. Creation keep on happening again and again. It's not the only one time that presently it has happened. Bhutva bhutva praliyate. According to the Shastras, it is again and again created, this world. So in the previous time, in the previous creation, at the time of annihilation, whatever was the condition of the living entity, according to that, Brahma in this creation again gives them appropriate bodies to continue from where they left. So it's a continuation. Like when we wake up in the morning, so we continue our life from where we left. Sleep is only an intermediate thing. So similarly, this pralaya, this destruction, is the intermediate thing, and Brahma gives us the bodies, consciousness, everything, and Paramatma gives us the remembrance to start from where we left. So that's a continuation. It's a continuation. So actually we are all dreaming, like we dream every night. So this death is also another phase, another dream. And again like that it goes on. So that's first thing what the Lord said, informed, that this world is originated from Brahma, and then all different planets are created by him, being empowered by the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. So then there are different planetary systems. There are 14 planetary systems in this universe, and we are in the middle. So different planetary systems have, all of them have living beings. There are different lifestyles, life standards existent on all these planetary systems. Those who are below us, those planetary systems are attained by those who are sinful, whereas the planetary systems which are above earthly planetary systems are attained by those who are very pious, whereas this earth is attained by those who have a mixture of piety and impiety. So like that, Krishna in the first verse gave this information, and now in continuation of that, in this shloka, what he says, adhascha urdhvam prasritas tasya shakha. The branches of this tree are spread downwards as well as upwards. Now, it may be a little confusing that in the previous shloka, Lord said, urdhva moolam adhashakha. The root is up and the branches are down. Urdhva moolam adhashakha. The branches are down. But now in this shloka he says, adhascho urdhvam prasatas tasya shakha. The branches are both downwards and upwards. So how to understand that? So the present description of the banyan tree is from the perspective of human beings living on the middle earthly planets as we are presently. From their perspective now the description is given. In the first verse, overall perspective was given. Now from the perspective of the human beings is given. So from our perspective, there are planetary systems below us. There are planetary systems above us. There are living forms who are, in terms of their consciousness, lower than us, and there are living forms who, in terms of consciousness, are more elevated than us. So this is the meaning of adhascho urdhvam prasritas tasya shakha. The branches refer to different varieties of forms, the bodies, which the souls are given according to their action in the previous lives. So, adhascho urdhvam prasritas tasya shakha. So there are living forms. There are total 84 lakh. Don't sleep like this. If you want to sleep, go out. Class is to sit and listen. If you want to sleep, go out and sleep somewhere. So, prasritas tasya shakha, these living forms, these bodies. So there are 84 lakh varieties of bodies. Souls are unlimited. They are given the body according to their desires and according to their action, and these living forms are 84 lakh varieties. Like there are plant bodies, there are animal bodies, there are reptile bodies, there are human bodies, there are demigod bodies, like that, 84 lakh varieties. So some of these forms are lower in consciousness. That means there is less God consciousness in them. That is called lower consciousness. Like animals, their consciousness is lower. They can do many things better than us. A dog can smell much better than us. Therefore, the security people, they use dogs to catch the criminals, because their sense of olfactory sense is much more developed than ours. Similarly, birds are much more skillful in flying. We cannot fly as they can. So, by saying that some of the forms are lower than us, it doesn't mean that we are materially more powerful than them. The main thing is that they are less God conscious than human beings. That is the main difference. So similarly, there are living forms which are above us, above human beings. Gandharvas, Charanas, there are different planetary systems. And on different planetary systems there are living entities. So those who have done very pious activities in human life, they are given chance to live on these higher planetary systems to continue their spiritual journey ahead. That is the purpose of birth being given in different planetary systems. There is a reason to everything. Nothing happens accidentally, as our dear modern scientists will make us believe. Nothing happens just without any reason. There is a reason behind everything. So, adhaschordham prasatas tasya shakha. There are living forms below us, there are living forms superior to us. Guna pravriddhaha. Guna pravriddhaha. How these branches are being nourished? What nourishes these different bodies? What nourishes these different bodies? So, guna, the modes of material nature, nourish these different bodies. What are these modes? These are subtle qualities of material nature, which is behind, in the background of all the activities, all the rules, regulations, laws which govern matter and energy. These are the most subtle characteristics of matter, which modern scientists have so far no access to. They have access to energies, but they don't have access to this subtle nature of matter, which is called modes. Mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. So different bodies are manufactured by these modes. According to the different proportion of these modes, different bodies are created. Like there are different varieties of iron. There is cast iron, there is stainless steel. Same iron but with different characteristics. So similarly, these all different bodies. Like now there is a neem tree, there's this tree standing there. It's called neem in Hindi. So, and then there are trees who bear fruits, very sweet fruits, and there are trees who bear thorns. So why some tree is in that form and some tree is in that form? This is again due to these modes, proportion of the modes which made the body, this tree. Tree is a body, there is a soul inside. Like we are soul and we have a body, similarly this tree is also a body, what we are seeing, but there is a soul inside. Till the soul is there, the tree will continue to be alive, grow, give fruits, give flowers. And once the soul leaves the tree, then the tree will no more grow, as happens with us. Once the soul leaves, then the body is dead. It will not grow anymore. So, but these varieties of trees are because the trees which are having only thorns, that means the mode of ignorance is predominant in making those trees. Whereas those which are full of very relishable fruits, those trees are created, there is more proportion of sattva-guna in them. But compared to human beings, human bodies, compared to them, all the plants, they are having predominance of tamoguna, this mode of ignorance, compared to human beings. Because it can be understood in a way, their consciousness is very low. If you will cut a tree by knife and cut an animal with a knife, we can perceive difference in their reaction. And if you same knife, if you even bring towards a human being, the reaction will be very different. This is because of their level of consciousness. The tree will not move, it will not resist because the consciousness is very low. But an animal, if you try to kill, then it will protest. But a human being, even if you put him in a situation where he comes to know that I will be killed after 1 year, then also he will be fearful, whereas an animal will not be fearful. It can only understand from very close quarters that I am going to be killed and it will react. So, different levels of consciousness. So, point I am making here is that guna pravriddhaha, these different bodies are nourished by different combination of these laws. This is how Lord makes different bodies. Everything has a mechanism. So, these modes are the mechanism by which matter is given different forms. Okay, guna pravriddhaha. Vishaya pravalaha. And now, in trees we can see that there are buds at the end of the branches. And these buds, they grow fresh leaves and fresh branches. This is the function of the bud. This is at the tip of the branch there is bud. So these buds on a tree are compared to different sense objects. So we have sense organs, and for each sense organ there is a corresponding sense object. Like for the eyes, the sense object is the form. For the ears, ear is the sense organ and the corresponding sense object is sound. Skin is a sense organ and the corresponding sense object is touch. So each sense has a corresponding sense object. So these tree birds are equated with these birds of the tree. That means as these sense objects give pleasure, when it combines pleasure or distress, whatever, when it combines with the sense objects, suppose tongue, again it's a sense organ, taste, sensation. So the taste is that sense object. Suppose somebody is habituated to eat, say, Indian food. So when Indian food is put on his tongue, he will enjoy it. But if food from somewhere else may not be relishable to him. Whereas for the other way around, it will be different. So it brings pleasure and distress. So similarly, these sense objects, they give enjoyment and pleasure to the living entity. Then further this shloka says, adhascha mulani anusantatani karmanubandhina manushaloke. And then in this tree, there are secondary roots. If you see banyan tree, so there will be roots rising from the branches and coming down, correct? And they go into the earth and they hold the tree. They are called secondary roots. In a banyan tree we can see especially these roots. So here Krishna is saying, we all also have these secondary roots in the form of our reactions to our activities, which are stored up in our subtle body. Now this is a little technical thing to understand, but very important thing to be understood. We see that sometimes we are driven to do a particular type of activity. We seems to be attracted to do certain activity. certain type of activities. And sometimes we are driven to do certain type of activities, temptations, inclinations, tendencies. And even there is difference in the people overall tendencies. Some people tend to gravitate towards doing pious activities. Naturally, from their very birth, some people will be always, I don't want to tell lie, I don't want to give pain to others. Some people are like that. They have a tendency to be like that. And then you find some people who have a different tendency. They enjoy, hurting others, doing some mischief. They enjoy that. So we see that different tendencies. And in each person also, these tendencies vary at different times in our life. Sometime at certain period in our life, we had a particular tendency. Correct? And then the tendency changes. People change. Transformation happens. Correct? So, what is the reason behind these tendencies? This is something very important to be thought about. Because if we understand this, we can understand what we should do to give up bad tendencies and acquire good tendencies. But if you don't know the mechanism behind that, how are you going to deal with it? There is every government, every nation wants good citizens. We want people to have only good tendencies. But what to do? So we have prison houses. So prison is only a temporary arrangement. Okay, those who are having very bad tendencies, at least restrict them. Separate them from the society so that they don't create mischief. But then that's not the ultimate solution. That's not the rectification. So why do people have different tendencies? So here the answer is given. Why people have different tendencies? The answer given here is, we develop a particular type of tendency based on the actions which we performed previously. It may be an action performed in this life, or it may be an action performed in the previous lives. Like for example, somebody is very inclined to smoke. He cannot live without smoking. He needs every day to smoke, morning, afternoon, evening, weeds or whatever. Inclined. Very deep-rooted addiction, tendency. So if you trace the reason for that, some of the reasons for that can be traced in this life itself. If we trace this life, we can see, okay, a man, when he went to his college, there he befriended some people who already had that tendency to smoke weed. And because he became their friend, therefore, in friendship, he also started smoking. And by smoking again and again and again and again, this became his tendency. Now he cannot live without that. So this is the reason what we could trace in his action in this life. Previous action, but in this life. But if we can see that there can be a group of friends, some of them they don't smoke, even though they are living together, but they don't smoke, isn't it? So it is not just by association that everything happened, because association was equally available to all of them. One person was smoking and the new person joined him and he started smoking. The third person also became his friend, but he did not take to smoking. Why this difference arose? So there should be some other reason, not just reasons from which can be traced in this life. So those reasons lie in what we call as reactions to our actions, which can be even continuing from our previous lives. Because these reactions to our actions come along with the soul after death, stored in its subtle body. When we die, we leave our gross body, but we don't leave our subtle body. The subtle body comes with us. There are two bodies, there is not one body. There are two bodies, there are two coverings of the soul. One is gross body and one is subtle body. So what we see as dying is the gross body. But the subtle body, mind, intelligence and ego, this is what is subtle body is made of. Mind, intelligence and ego. This does not die. And this comes with us. And all these reactions, impressions to whatever we did, to whatever we enjoyed, are stored as impressions in our subtle body, and they come along with us. So these are called vasanas in Sanskrit term, vasana. This gives rise to tendencies. This gives rise to tendencies. The reason why somebody from the very early childhood you can see saintly, another person criminal minded. Brothers, two brothers, same parents, same environment in which they were nurtured, but still from very early age we can see they have different tendencies. So the reason is, in the previous life, the type of actions they did, the type of desires they had, those created impressions, and these impressions came along with them, and now it is manifesting. Okay, so this is the reason behind the tendencies. So here, this is what Krishna says, that we develop these tendencies according to our previous karma, and these tendencies then make us do further action. Correct? So if a person commits a sinful activity in the previous life he was addicted to some sinful activity, some smoking, so he gets that experience of smoking weed. So that experience of smoking is registered as pleasure in his consciousness. So that impression comes now, and that develops a tendency towards hankering for a similar type of enjoyment in this life. That manufactures a tendency in this life. And with that tendency, what will happen? Then again he will do the similar activity in this life. So previous activity, impression, and then next activity. And this further activity will create further impression, and that impression will cause further action. So this is called cycle of karma. How we get bound up by our action. Action, reaction, action, reaction, action, reaction, action, reaction, and this is a cycle. Okay. So action leads to reaction, that reaction leads to further action, that action leads to more reaction, and then reaction leads to more action. So action, reaction, action, reaction. So by that what happens? Whenever till these tendencies and action and tendency, the cycle continues, till then the body, subtle and gross body, will continue, because body and this gross body and subtle body are the places where these tendencies and action are manifested. So till the tendencies are there, till the actions are there, this body, both gross and subtle, will continue. This is called karma bandhan, the bondage of karma, the bondage of action. So this is what is happening. This is the description of what is happening, what is called samsara, what is this world. So now you see, when we see from the eyes of Shastra, what a in-depth understanding we get. Otherwise, we just see people, yeah, there are people, okay, he died, okay, some bird took birth. But we couldn't understand the deeper meaning behind it, that why it is happening, why he is taking birth again and again, why I am taking birth again and again, and why I am taking birth, this birth, and that person is taking that birth, and which birth I will take next. These things cannot be understood if we don't read scriptures, if we don't start seeing from the eyes of the scriptures. So this is the benefit of seeing from the eyes of the scriptures. Okay. So, this is what Krishna has described. So, now in Bhagavad Gita, then further, and Vedic scriptures, it is also described how can we come out of this chain of action, reaction, action, reaction. So, there is a very nice verse in Srimad Bhagavatam which says, Evam mana karma vasham prayunkte avidyaya atmani upadhiya mane pritirna yavan mai vasudeve what is the last line? Pritirna yavan mai vasudeve deha yoga muchyate na muchyate tavat na muchyate deha yogena tavat. In this verse, one of the great devotee, he says that because of this action, our mind, the subtle body, develops these impressions, and then by that impressions we get more bodies and we get the tendencies to act. Till when this will continue? Till we will not develop our attachment to Supreme Lord Krishna. Till then we will continue having these tendencies. These impressions are like contamination in our consciousness, which results in disease in the form of this body. This body is a disease, is an expression of a disease, and the infection, the infecting germ is this karma, reaction of the action. So, if we want to get free from this disease, free from this infection, what we have to do? We have to take medicine. We have to purify ourselves. We have to kill these infecting bacteria or agents, whatever you may say. What is the process of killing them? The process is, if we develop our great attachment to serve Krishna, then and then only all our disease, which is in the form of other attachments, except attachment of serving Krishna, whatever else lies in our heart as our attachment, as our desires, these are all contamination. These are all the very root cause of our continuation in this cycle of birth and death. So, this is the medicine, this is the treatment. So, Pritirna yavat mai vasudeve, till one does not develop attachment, priti, love for the Supreme Person, the Supreme Pure Krishna, till one doesn't develop attachment towards Krishna, till then we cannot become purified from these impressions, because it's a very vicious cycle. From previous impressions we are doing today some action, and this action will create further reaction, and those reactions will create another action. Like that, it's a vicious cycle. No one can come out of it except those who take shelter of the Lord and who now develop, based on Lord's instructions, their service attitude towards Krishna. That is the antidote. That is the antidote for this disease. And that's the only antidote. There is no other antidote. Without developing this our pure service attitude towards Krishna, no one, a person may be very intelligent or whatever it may be, but he cannot overcome this vicious cycle of karmic reactions. This is in gist, sum and substance of Bhagavad Gita, our whole Vedic scripture. In fact, every scripture, genuine scripture, ultimately is meant to bring us to our senses that by being attached to this world, we are ensuring our perpetuation in this cycle of birth and death and suffering. So if we come to our senses and we want to come out of this, then the direction is given that we should now develop our attachment to Krishna. So this process of developing attachment to Krishna and the process of developing detachment from everything else is made very easy in this present age by an incarnation of Krishna, the Supreme Lord, called Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who had invented 500 years ago in India, in a place which is presently called West Bengal. And he propagated the process for this age, which can be easily taken up by everyone, in the form of Sankirtan, when we all come together and chant the holy name of God. That's a simple process. But chanted with proper understanding, it has a very great effect. With understanding of who is God, who we are, what is our relationship with God. All these things when we understand, and with that understanding when we chant, then it has a very great purifying effect on our consciousness. This whole organization is meant for that, to propagate the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. And the way of calling out the Supreme Lord, there is a mantra to call out. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. If you see this mantra, what is the meaning? In Sanskrit, as in any language, there are different cases. So this particular mantra is in a particular case which is used when you address someone, like anyone, Stephen, so it's calling. So like that, this Hare, Krishna, Rama, this form, they are in that case calling. So this mantra is actually a prayer, is like an address. Hey Krishna, hey Rama, hey Radharani. So we are addressing them, we are calling them, trying to bring their attention to us. So when we call someone, then we have something to say to them, correct? That's why we call. So we call them. Why? That please now engage us in your service. For time immemorial, we have forgotten you, and we are trying to enjoy. Instead of serving you, we are trying to enjoy independent of you. Now, at last, we have understood that we were mistaken. Now we want to come back. So please take us back. Please revive in us the service attitude to you. Please clean off, vanquish all these vasanas, all these impressions which are in our heart lying deep, which make us do this different activities in this material world for sense gratification. So these are our stumbling blocks. So please purify these things from our heart. This is the prayer. This is the meaning of this Hare Krishna mantra. And all of us are witness to it. Those who are practicing sincerely for quite some time. Those who are new, they can also experience in their own life the potency of this great chant, this Hare Krishna mantra. So if we read Prabhupada books, and with that we develop a proper understanding about this mantra, about our whole existence, and then we chant this mantra and do other activities which help us to develop our love of Krishna, then we will all experience transformation. We are already experiencing, and more we will experience. That will become driven towards Krishna. We will develop our service attitude towards Krishna. With these words, we will end here. We will now open up for questions. If there are any questions, we can take up them now. Hare Krishna. Or if there are any comments, we can take up them also. Yes, Pavitra Prabhu. Pavitran.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for your wonderful association. We'll really regret your departure tomorrow. We all wish you a safe journey. And I just wanted to throw light on your experience staying in Ghana for the 1 month. Can you give us any experience or whatever you have observed or whatever advice you have for us.
Okay. We can first take a few questions on this topic, and after that we can go for that. First, you can take some on the today's topic. If there are some questions.
My question is, now you gave an example that somebody who have two friends and he just made a friend is smoking and he joined them in smoking. For his previous life, maybe he was not smoking, but in this present life, he starts smoking. And again, you said we carry our karma from our previous life. Why was he smoking? Was it not from his past life, or he just starts smoking now?
No, that's what I tried to explain, that our tendencies in this life has effect of both this life karma and previous life karma, but it's an effect of our karma, the reactions to the karma. So a person who did not smoke in his previous life, but in this life he met a friend, and by that influence of that friendship he started smoking now. But now, since he has started smoking, in the coming days or years or the next life, his tendency to smoke will be greater and greater and greater compared to when he started. So action has a reaction, and one of the reaction is to develop tendencies. So that's what I was trying to explain. And a person who from the previous lives he was smoking, he will be very easily driven to smoke, because he already has done that. That impressions are there which will drive him towards smoking. So even if he will not find a friend, maybe he will search out himself. He will be driven towards that. Whereas a person who is who in his previous life has opposite reactions, pious, then he will be, even though he will meet a friend who invites him to smoke, he may be able to resist that easily, because he has a pious reactions in his balance. This is what I does it help you? Yes, Lord.
Harekrishna.
Harekrishna.
About chanting.
Chanting.
Yes. Some prophets is saying that when you are reading, say, example, you are reading, the one who is reading don't know that he is or making some straight line or making, but unless somebody is standing there, know that this one is not good, so we should correct it. How can we know that we are chanting perfectly when you are chanting?
How do we know when we are chanting whether we are chanting perfectly or not? So chanting is a prayer, so we should be attentive. If suppose I am calling out to you, if I am not attentive, I call out to you, but then I see here and there, then you will not respond to my calling you out. Like an example I give. Mother is there and there is a small baby, small child. Child is crying. But mother has an experience to understand how intense this child is really want me. Suppose she is engaged in household work. The child is crying. So mother will first try, okay, give some toy. The child will be happy. Okay, now I got it. So mother will continue doing her work. But if the child only wants mother, he is not satisfied with anything else, no toys, nothing, he wants only mother, then the mother will have to come. So mother can understand how intense is his chanting. So if our chanting is not intense, in the sense it is not even attentive, we are not even attentive, we just chant, I just call you out, and then I call out next moment Pavitram Prabhu, and next moment I call out him, or sometime I just see here and there, that means you will all understand that I am not serious about calling. So you will not take it seriously. So therefore the most important thing is that we chant attentively. What does it mean to chant attentively? That means we pronounce clearly the person whom we are calling, and we keep our attention in calling out, in properly calling out, we keep our mind there. That's all. So that is called attentive chanting. So we are chanting, just we chant properly. That means we pronounce the words and we hear that. If we hear, that means our mind is there in hearing, because we cannot hear if our mind is not there. Like right now, so many sounds are there outside, but because our mind is not there, we are not able to hear them. But if we start our mind there, bringing our mind there, then we can hear them. Some child is making noise, but unless our mind is there, I will not be able to hear. So when it is said hear, that means you put your focus there, of the mind there. So proper chanting is when we are attentive and we understand what is the meaning of the chanting. That this basic philosophy we understand. Otherwise, we may be chanting for a wrong purpose, with a wrong understanding. There are people who in India who chant the same mantra, but with a completely different understanding. Mayavadis, they also chant 24 hours. They chant more than us, in fact, some of them. But their understanding is completely that there is no ultimate personality as God. For example, one group. So even though they are chanting, but the effect will not be there, because they are chanting full of with offenses. There are offenses made to the Lord because of their misunderstanding. Suppose I am calling out to you, but then I have a misunderstanding about your position. Suppose there is a president of Ghana and I call out to him, but I don't understand that he is president. I think he is another layman. So then, though I am calling him out, but I am calling him out in an offensive attitude. So he will not be pleased. So our understanding should be correct. That means we should be situated in these teachings of Shastras, and then with that right understanding, our whole life should be molded in a way to serve the Lord. Not that we only serve the Lord, we are only in 2 hours of chanting and rest of the day we just do things which are not what Krishna wants us to do. So as much as our whole life is dedicated to serve Krishna, to that level our chanting will naturally be better. So chanting is not some a separate activity. It is very well connected to our whole understanding, our whole life, our everyday whatever we do. We cannot improve our chanting just in 2 hours. A whole day what we are doing will decide how we are chanting. So attentive chanting, our whole understanding, and our molding our life to come closer to Krishna, to do what Krishna wants us to do. All these things will decide whether we are chanting properly or not. Hare Krishna. Yes.
Thank you very much for very happy that you sacrifice your time to be with us.
No, it's my pleasure to be with all of you.
Giving us a lot of scientific approach to this philosophy. And actually, you love the scientists, but you hate their mentality.
I hate their being atheists. That's what Prabhupada did.
Okay, so but I want you to explain a little bit more about the modes. You know, the whole body according to the expansion, the interaction of the modes. And then the pure devotees, the liberated souls, they are aloof and they are observing the modes acting. So they're like a coconut, dry coconut in the shell. It's aloof from the shell, but it's in it. So that is the way of the pure devotees. So can you explain explain to us the way these pure devotees see the modes and their activities and what we expect to see, how to see them behave, how do they behave.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, there is a stage called Jivan Mukta stage, where the soul is still in this world, soul is still in the body, but he is disconnected to the body, in the sense it is not controlled by the body, it is not controlled by the modes. So this is the stage what Prabhu is talking about, liberated platform. So like in 5th chapter, Krishna says, Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavid. Naiva kinchit karomiti, I am not doing anything except my services to Krishna. That is, when I am hearing and chanting, this is what I am doing actually, because this is consciously I am doing. But besides that, now my body is getting old, I am getting toothache. This is indriyasya indrasyarthe vartate iti dharayan. This is just senses are acting in conjunction with the sense objects because of the leftover of my karmic reactions. But he clearly understands that this is happening to the body and I am not body. And this is happening to the body because body acts according to the karma phal. So it is happening because of the karma phal, but I am aloof from it. So yes, pain is happening, but pain is not my pain. This is a body, it is happening to the body. So he is able to completely detach himself from these pains and pleasures of the body. That means his sadhana will not be affected by that. Like Srila Prabhupada, he was in an old body, which was showing the symptoms of old body. Organs were failing, liver was failing, so many symptoms were there. But Srila Prabhupada, because he was a completely on a liberated platform, his service to Krishna was not obstructed by that. His consciousness was completely in Krishna consciousness. Whereas in our case, what happens? If we fall sick, if we develop some toothache or headache, then our consciousness gets withdrawn into that pain, because we are attached. We are not like the coconut, dry coconut, we are the wet coconut. So these modes which are affecting the body affect us because we are connected to that shell, because of our lack of Krishna consciousness, because of the body consciousness we have attached ourselves. Therefore these modes keep on acting like the gear of the car. If you have put it in neutral, then the accelerator and the whole engine, it becomes separated from that. But moment you put the gear, then it becomes connected. So like that, a person in liberated stage is in a neutral gear. So the body is separate from his, there is no connection because the gear is not there. So something like that. Yeah, Vijitatma, Jitendriya.
So that is, we are expected to become Yoga Yuktas.
Yeah.
So, and the Yoga Yukta is supposed to be Visuddhatma, Vijitatma, and Jitendriya.
Yeah.
So can you explain a little bit of these qualities of a Yoga Yukta? Who is a Yoga Yukta and some of these qualities?
Yeah, Yoga Yukta Vishuddhatma Vijitatma Jitendriya Sarvabhutatma Bhutatma Kurvannapi na Lipyate. So, in very simple sense terms, Yukta is one who is completely in love with Krishna. He loves Krishna. He is fully Krishna conscious. He has developed his, revived his relationship with Krishna. He is always absorbed in serving Krishna. His mind is absorbed in serving Krishna. His intelligence is absorbed in serving Krishna. His senses are absorbed in serving Krishna. And that too naturally. We are trying to absorb ourselves in serving Krishna, but he has attained a state where he is naturally absorbed. He doesn't have to fight. We have to fight. When we have to chant, we have to fight with our mind. But he has reached a level where his mind is naturally thinking about Krishna. His senses naturally serve Krishna. That is the difference between him and us. So Yukta is a person who is naturally, he has developed his service attitude, his consciousness is pure, therefore all his sense organs, all his mind, everything is naturally flowing, like Ganga naturally flows towards the sea. So similarly, a liberated person's senses, mind, intelligence, everything just naturally, automatically flows towards serving Krishna. Even if theoretically he will try to restrict, he will not be able to restrict. Whereas our situation is, in spite of our trying to engage them in service of Krishna, we find distractions and obstacles. So therefore we are sadhakas and they are siddhas. Something like that. And then these concomitant qualities, Vishuddhatma, that will only happen when he is completely purified of all the vasanas. So Vishuddhatma, Yoga Yukto, Vishuddhatma, Vijitatma, Jitendriyaha, his senses will be under his control, because the senses will are purified now by the contact, the spiritual strong contact. The senses are, they will only be engaged as per his wish, whatever he wants to engage them in service of Krishna, like that Kurumangani va sarvashaha, like a tortoise who is at his will can expand them or restrict them. So like that his qualities will be there. Or you can explain. Oh yes, sure. Yes, yes. It's possible, definitely. Otherwise, our whole process will be useless because that's what Krishna is telling you. You come to me. So it's possible, definitely. That's why he is asking us to do it. Coming back to your question. Okay, it was a very nice stay here. You all took care of me more than what I expected. I was given a room, and my prasadam was being arranged by devotees coming from so far away every day. So it was very astonishing the way I was taken care of here. Thank you very much, all of you, for all that. And Ikshvaku Prabhu, every day he was with me and taking so care. Sushna, all of you. Thank you very much for that. And yes, it's very nice to see that Krishna Bhakti is being rendered here in this part of the world also, and everybody is servant of God. We can understand by such examples where such a cultural difference, but still people chant and they experience similar things, similar purification. So it is not that the souls are different, Indian soul and the African soul. We are all souls and we are all servant of Krishna. So this realization became more fresh to say, and I pray that this yatra grows more and become more preaching, more people take to Krishna consciousness, like that. Hare Krishna. So we can end here if there are no questions.
Please ask your question. So Prabhu is going to travel your lecture. You made mention of
Last, okay.
your lecture. You made mention of plants after soup.
Sorry, please speak in the mic. Plants as soul. Okay.
And then,
Botany,
plants have an adaptation, that is a modification to our body. In order for them to modify their body parts to get food and water.
Yeah.
And some to react to what stimuli and then fight against danger. Yeah. And I think what triggered that consciousness in them? Is it that in their past life they experienced dangers, they didn't do that, or dangers of that similar characteristics?
In the plant life and animal life, their previous actions have resulted in that life, and then in every life, by nature's law, there are specific intuitions which help them to exist, because they have to go through that suffering of that lifetime. So then by nature the system is designed in them that they will naturally do or accept things in a way which will help them to sustain. So survival, so that is because they have to go through that suffering. So therefore that is designed in them. Okay. So we end here. Prabhu, you had a question afterwards. Personally we can speak. You had a question, so I am saying personally afterwards you can ask that, because I think its time is over.
Please, me. You wanted to ask a question? Yeah. Just a contribution towards what we have already said.
Okay.
My contribution is as devotees of Srila Prabhupada or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said the Western world is full of meditation. There is Northern world is full of meditation. Western is full of mental speculation, and Southern world is full of ritualistic. So the Eastern world, all good, better, best, pure things come from the East, because East contains the heart, and the heart is the palace of Krishna. The soul, the super soul, everything are in the heart. So everything comes from the East, in the heart. So we have to follow. So many scriptures and everything are scattered all the body around the world. We all have to focus on the East, so that the Eastern philosophy, where Krishna is, we have to follow that line. The whole world have to follow the East. As blood flows from the heart to the whole body, the same thing, everything comes from the heart. All realization comes from the heart to the whole body or the whole world. So we all have to focus on the East. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.